Cow Pose, Ghomukhasana. Good for the shoulders if you're someone who uses a computer a lot or drives a lot. We are going to bring a little bit of release through those tight shoulders. So we're going to start with the two versions of how to get into this pose. The first one is a good one to start on tabletop. If you've got tight hips, this is the one for you. You bring your right knee into the middle of your hands until the toes pass the knee, and then you slide it over the left knee. So the two knees are stacked. You can see your feet behind you. Take them a little wider, almost as wide as your mat, so you can sink the hips down and the two sit bones should be on the floor, straight spine. If you have a little bit more openness to your hips and you're sat in a seated position, you can extend the legs out, take the right leg over the left, and then just fold the left leg under. You might have to lean a little bit to one side to get there, but once the sit bones are grounded and the two knees are stacked on top of one another, then you know you're in the right position. If your feet start to flare out to the side a little bit, that's okay. But the more open your hips become, the more you'll have your feet coming towards you. All right, you should feel quite a strong stretch through the glutes here. And this is what we want to achieve, is a much nicer stretch through the glutes, through the piriformis muscle, and then through to the pectoralis major and the latissimus dorsi. From here, we move into the shoulders. So you take your right arm up, and you want to bend through that right elbow. Now, as you're doing that, you're continuing that stretch through the lats and the pectoralis major. And you're going to bend through the elbow and work towards pulling the elbow to the center line and up to the ceiling as you bring the left hand behind and do the same. So the right hand, I'm going to turn around now so you can see. The right hand comes between the scapula and the left hand comes to meet. So your left elbow should be pointing down and towards the center line also, both elbows hugging in. And we're going to aim to get the grip. Now for some of you who might be looking at this thinking that's never going to happen for me because my shoulders are too tight. So then we use a band or a towel as an option. Take it in your right hand if that's the one that's going up. And just hang it down the spine. And then you can grab it from whichever point with the left hand and work towards bringing your hands together, keeping those elbows pulling in. Now, if you know you're tight in the shoulders, the best thing to do here is be patient, breathe. So about 10 breaths, long inhalation, long exhalation. And eventually, you know, with time and with practice, you'll get those hands closer and closer together till one day you can get rid of it and interlace. Okay, so when you get this interlace, you'll feel a little compression through the shoulders. This is actually stimulating the cardiovascular system by compressing the blood vessels. And when we release the pose, you'll get a rush of blood through the deltoids, which is going to help you release the shoulders. So we're really looking at shoulder joints, outside hips, and the glutes that are getting worked. I'm going to come to the side now so you can see it from the side. There's lots and lots of stuff going on here. Lots and lots of stuff. So the elbows are pulling in. The spine should be neutral or with a slight back bend. That's okay, depending on whether you have a slight back bend in your spine. Try not to lean too much unless that's part of the pose that you're doing. You can lean in this pose, but in this version, the full version, we're not leaning. Or try not to twist left or right. Your hips at this point are rotating outwards, and the bottom elbow is reaching down as the top elbow is reaching up. Your head and neck might have a tendency to come forward. That's when I want you to push the head back, because you want to keep the cervical spine in a neutral position. If you're straining all the muscles in your shoulders to reach forward through the neck, so you can give space to the right arm, you're going to get knots in your shoulders, which is the absolute opposite of what we want. You stack your knees in the midline, so try not to put them to the left or the right through the midline. And then really here what we're trying to do is use our middle deltoid and the supraspinatus muscle to adduct and stabilize the shoulders, whilst your posterior deltoid is engaging and rotating. Your elbows and your triceps are also stretching, and so are your torso muscles, your spinal extensors, your transverse abdominis are all engaging. The other thing that's engaging is your psoas muscle, which runs along here, all the way through, to really hold this position in the right place. Now, as I say, 10 breaths is a good amount of time to be holding this for, because you really want to get into those muscle fibers. There's 19 muscle fibers in the deltoids, and they all can be controlled independently by the nervous system. So you can understand why, when you get anxious, that our shoulders take a lot of that tension and hold it in there. So that's why these ones are going to be amazing for you. As you release, move it slowly, and you can lean a little back, swap the legs over if you've got open hips, and cross left leg over right, or you can just cross the ankles, come into tabletop and do the same thing as you did at the beginning. Left knee comes through the middle of the hands till the toes pass the right knee, and then slide it and stack left knee ahead of right knee. Take the feet as wide as them out or wider, and then sink the hips down. And there you go, Ghomukhasana.